I don't think you have to black it out. You should show it to people. She called me Don, sea sucker lemon is disgusting. And again, she's ignorant. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's always weighing in on things that she doesn't know about. Nicki Minaj should just sit the f down. So Nicki Minaj, F off, stop being a homophobic bigot, and get a life and some brains.
Nicki Minaj just went off on Don Lemon in a way nobody saw coming. The Queen of Rap called out the journalist using language that has the entire internet talking.
So people have been asking me about responding to Nicki Minaj's unhinged, homophobic tweet about me. I usually don't respond to this stuff, but let me just say this. Nicki Minaj, stop talking about for which you know nothing about. This is you're out of your depth. Get a life. Stop being a pick-me. You should have put a pick-me doll on that damn tweet instead of a Chucky doll, because you are nothing but a pick-me.
On January 19, 2026, Nicki posted on X in all caps, calling Don Lemon out by name and demanding he be locked up. This is the same journalist who was just put on notice by the Department of Justice for his coverage of a protest inside a Minnesota church.
This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out.
This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere, they don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual.
So right now it's kind of mayhem. We're not part of the activists, but we're here just reporting on them.
This situation involves one of hip-hop's biggest stars going toe-to-toe with an independent journalist over a church incident that's now being investigated by the federal government. The feds are involved, the White House responded, and Nicki isn't backing down.
Hi, Jack. The Department of Justice is investigating a disruption at a Minnesota church over the weekend. What's the DOJ saying about that?
That's right. Yesterday, during morning services at a St. Paul church, there was a disruption. A group of demonstrators came in and were protesting and chanting anti-ICE slogans in the middle of this worship service. Senior justice officials, including the Attorney General and the head of the Civil Rights Division, have said this is a version of intimidating Christians, and that they were interfering with their First Amendment rights.
This goes way deeper than what you saw on social media. From the moment protesters entered that church service in St. Paul, to Nicki's explosive posts, to Don Lemon firing back on TMZ Live, this story has layers nobody expected. Let me break down the church incident, why Nicki exploded, how Don Lemon responded, and what the Department of Justice investigation means for everyone involved. Let's start from the beginning. On Sunday, January 18, 2026, protesters from Racial Justice Network, Black Lives Matter Minnesota, and BLM Twin Cities organized what they called an ICE Out action in St. Paul, Minnesota. The demonstration wasn't random. They targeted City's church specifically because they believed one of the pastors, David Easterwood, also serves as the acting director of ICE's St. Paul field office. According to multiple reports from TMZ, ABC News, and Fox News, protesters entered the church during Sunday worship service and began chanting "ICE Out" and "Justice for Renee Good." The demonstration was connected to anger over federal enforcement actions and the incident involving Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3 who was involved in a confrontation with an ICE agent on January 7th. Don Lemon was there. The former CNN anchor, who's been working as an independent journalist since 2023, was live streaming the entire situation. He followed the protesters from outside the church right into the sanctuary. His footage shows demonstrators blocking the altar, chanting, and confronting worshipers individually. Many people in the congregation got visibly upset and left the service. In his live stream, Lemon interviewed the lead pastor, Jonathan Parnell, who told him the protesters refused to engage in dialogue and just wanted to disrupt the service. But here's where it gets interesting. Lemon defended the protest on camera, saying to viewers, "This is what the First Amendment is about, the freedom to protest. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, is to make uncomfortable." One congregant spoke to Lemon on camera, clearly angry. He said, "These people have come into our house and they've interrupted our worship. Everybody's gone home. Their point has been proven worthless. And so, in the end, I think they lose. I feel violated. I feel interrupted. I feel angry." Another person asked Lemon directly, "How would you like it if I went into your house and started yelling?" The footage spread fast. Within hours, conservative activists and Christian groups started calling out what happened. They argued that disrupting a worship service crossed a line. Social media exploded with debates about First Amendment rights versus respecting religious spaces. The timing matters here. Minnesota has been a focal point for enforcement tensions, especially after the administration deployed thousands of agents to the area. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey had publicly demanded federal agents leave the city. Protesters have been active for days. Don Lemon had been documenting demonstrations throughout the weekend before ending up at City's church. What makes this different from typical protest coverage is that Lemon didn't just observe from outside. He went inside the church with the protesters. He interviewed them while the service was being disrupted. He made statements defending their right to be there. That's what caught the attention of federal officials. The hip-hop community and political world went quiet at first, but then things escalated quick. On Sunday night, just hours after Lemon's coverage went viral, the Department of Justice made a move. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon posted on X that her office was investigating potential violations of the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, known as the FACE Act. The law protects both clinic entrances and religious worship spaces from interference. Dillon wrote, "The Civil Rights Division is investigating the potential violations of the federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers." Then she directly addressed Lemon. "A house of worship is not a public forum for your protest. It is a space protected from exactly such acts by federal criminal and civil laws. Nor does the First Amendment protect your pseudo-journalism of disrupting a prayer service. You are on notice." Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed she spoke with the pastor whose church was targeted. She posted, "Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails." White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt added, "President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians in their sacred places of worship. The Department of Justice has launched a full investigation into this incident that took place at a church in Minnesota." The conservative response was immediate and intense. Multiple conservative commentators called for Lemon's removal. Some suggested he could face charges under the KK Act, a federal civil rights statute that makes it against the law to terrorize citizens or violate their civil rights. Dillon appeared on The Benny Johnson Show and said, "Everyone in the protest community needs to know that the fullest force of the federal government is going to come down and prevent this from happening." But that's not even the craziest part. While all this was developing, Nicki Minaj, who had been relatively quiet on social media for weeks, broke her silence. On Sunday evening, she posted on X. Her message was direct and didn't hold back. She wrote in all caps, "Don Lemon is disgusting. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up." The post included a photo of a Chucky doll from the Child's Play movies. Lemon, who is openly gay and married real estate agent Tim Malone in 2024, became the target of Nicki's anger. The language she used immediately sparked controversy because critics pointed out it was inappropriate and targeted his identity. Nicki didn't stop with one post. She continued throughout the evening, reposting content from others who criticized Lemon. She shared a tweet from someone else attacking the journalist and added, "True or false?" Then she posted again saying, "The world is watching," with another image. The hip-hop community started talking immediately. Twitter and Instagram lit up with reactions. Some people supported Nicki's right to speak out about what she saw as disrespect to religion. Others criticized the language she used and questioned why she was so focused on this particular incident. The divide was clear. Here's where it gets interesting. Don Lemon didn't wait long to respond. On Monday, January 19th, he appeared on TMZ Live and went off. "The interview is something you gotta see to believe." Lemon told TMZ, "I'm not surprised Nicki Minaj does not understand journalism and is weighing in on matters that are above her capacity. However, the more appropriate image for her post is a pick-me doll, referring to someone who is overcompensating and needs validation." But he didn't stop there. During the TMZ Live appearance, Lemon went further. He told Nicki to sit down and said she needed to get a life and grow some brains. He called her an ignorant woman who's been weighing in on things she doesn't understand. He labeled her a political pick-me because of her recent support for the administration. Then Lemon brought up her personal life. He pointed out that her husband, Kenneth Petty, has a criminal record. According to people in TMZ, Lemon suggested Nicki might be siding with the current administration to get some sort of consideration for her husband's situation. Lemon went even further in his response. He called for people, especially those in the LGBTQ community and African American community, to stop supporting Nicki. He said her comments were inappropriate and showed she doesn't think highly of certain groups. The situation escalated from there. Media outlets across the board picked up the story. TMZ, Complex, Hot New Hip Hop, All Hip Hop, The Breakfast Club, and major news networks all covered it. The story crossed from hip-hop news into mainstream political coverage because of the DOJ investigation angle. Conservative voices rallied behind criticism of Lemon. Liberal voices pushed back, defending his journalism. Hip-hop fans split down the middle. Some defended Nicki's right to speak out. Others said her language crossed a line and wasn't acceptable regardless of her views on the church situation. The DOJ investigation continued to develop. According to Fox News and ABC ABC News, officials confirmed they're looking into potential violations of the FACE Act. The law carries serious consequences. It's the same statute that's been used in various cases involving interference with religious services. Legal experts started weighing in. Some said Lemon was just doing journalism, and the First Amendment protects his right to report from anywhere, including a church. Others argued that if he participated in or encouraged the disruption, that could create legal exposure. The debate became technical fast. What's notable is how quickly this became a political flashpoint. Within 24 hours, you had the Attorney General, the White House press secretary, conservative activists, liberal defenders, hip-hop stars, and federal investigators all involved in one story. That doesn't happen often, but here's what most people missed in all the headlines about Nicki's posts and Don's response. Nicki Minaj's political evolution has been one of the most talked about topics in hip-hop over the past few months. According to reports from The Blast, Complex, and All Hip Hop, she's been increasingly vocal about her support for the current administration. In November 2024, she spoke at a United Nations event about religious freedom, specifically mentioning violence against Christians in Nigeria. She said faith was being attacked in too many places, and Christians were being targeted. A month before the Don Lemon incident, Nicki appeared at Turning Point USA's America Fest with Erica Kirk. During that event, she made comments about gender that many viewers interpreted as controversial. She said things like, "Boys be boys. There's nothing wrong with being a boy." The backlash was immediate. Critics argued she was making statements that went against positions she'd previously held. This shift hasn't gone unnoticed by her fan base. According to multiple outlets, including The Blast and IB Times, a petition titled "Deport Nicki Minaj Back to Trinidad" went viral on social media. Over 120,000 people signed it. Critics argued that Nicki, who was born in Trinidad and moved to the United States at age 5, no longer deserved to remain in the country after joining what they called the current political movement. The deportation petition drama was still fresh when the Don Lemon situation happened. Nicki had deactivated her Instagram amid growing criticism for her political statements. She'd been largely silent on social media for weeks. Her return to X with the Don Lemon posts marked one of her first major public statements in 2026. What makes this situation particularly complicated is the intersection of multiple issues. You've got religious freedom debates, enforcement policy arguments, First Amendment questions about journalism, LGBTQ concerns, hip-hop politics, and celebrity influence all colliding in one story. Don Lemon's position has also evolved. He went from being a CNN anchor with a major platform to an independent journalist working on YouTube. His coverage style has changed. He's more direct, more willing to insert himself into stories, more open about his perspectives. The Minnesota church coverage showed this clearly. He wasn't just reporting what happened. He was engaging with it, defending the protesters' rights, making arguments on camera. The question of whether Lemon crossed a line depends on who you ask. Journalists traditionally maintain some distance from the stories they cover. But in the age of independent media, those lines have blurred. Lemon argues he was exercising his First Amendment rights while documenting an important story about enforcement policy and community response. Critics say he participated in disrupting a religious service, and that's not journalism. The FACE Act investigation adds another layer. According to the Department of Justice statements reported by ABC News and Fox News, investigators are looking at whether anyone violated federal law by interfering with a religious service. The statute was originally created to protect clinics and religious spaces from obstruction. If charges come from this investigation, it would set a precedent. Using the FACE Act in this context would send a message about what kind of protest activity is protected and what crosses into interference. Legal experts are divided on whether the facts support charges, but the investigation itself is significant. For Nicki, the situation shows how celebrity voices can amplify political and social debates. Her single post got millions of impressions within hours. It drove news coverage across multiple platforms. It forced Don Lemon to respond publicly. It became part of the larger national conversation about enforcement, religious freedom, and protest rights. So that's where we're at with this whole situation. As of January 19, 2026, the Department of Justice investigation into the church incident is ongoing. According to statements from the Attorney General Pam Bondi and Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, federal officials are examining potential FACE Act violations. No charges have been filed yet, but investigators have made it clear they're taking the matter seriously. Don Lemon is defending his journalism. In his TMZ Live appearance and in statements to other outlets, he maintains he was documenting an important story about community response to enforcement policies. He told Fox News Digital, "It's called journalism, First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, there you go." But he's also been put on notice by federal officials. Harmeet Dillon's statement wasn't subtle. She directly called out what she termed his pseudo-journalism and made clear the DOJ is watching. Whether that leads to actual legal consequences remains to be seen. Nicki Minaj hasn't backed down from her posts. She continues continues to share content, criticizing Lemon and supporting investigations into the church incident. On Monday morning, she posted HNY on X, which confused some fans, since it's almost 20 days into January. The post marked one of her first in 2026, following her political controversies. The hip-hop community remains divided. Some artists and personalities have commented, mostly privately. There hasn't been a massive public response from other major figures in the industry. That silence is notable. In hip-hop, when major controversies happen, people usually pick sides quickly and loudly. This situation has been different. Keep your eyes on several things moving forward. First, whether the DOJ investigation results in any charges. The FACE Act carries real penalties if prosecutors decide to pursue it. Using it in this context would be a significant development that could affect how future protests at religious spaces are handled. Second, watch how this affects Nicki's relationship with her fanbase. The LGBTQ community has been a huge part of her support system throughout her career. The tension created by her recent statements and the language she used against Lemon has caused real fractures. Whether those can be repaired or whether they become permanent splits will play out over time. Third, the impact on Don Lemon's independent journalism career. Being put on notice by the Department of Justice isn't something that disappears from your resume. It will follow him. How he navigates this and whether he faces any legal consequences will determine the trajectory of his post-CNN work. Fourth, the broader conversation about celebrity political involvement. Nicki isn't the first hip-hop artist to align with certain political movements, and she won't be the last. But the reaction to her shift has been intense. It raises questions about what fans expect from artists and whether political positions should affect how we engage with someone's music. The bigger picture here shows how quickly local incidents can become national stories when the right elements combine. A protest at a church in St. Paul became a federal investigation, a celebrity feud, and a cultural flashpoint within 24 hours. Social media accelerated everything. Don Lemon's live stream footage went viral immediately. Nicki's posts reached millions in minutes. News coverage spread across platforms instantly. This also highlights ongoing tensions about enforcement policies, religious freedom, and protest rights. The Minnesota situation isn't isolated. Similar debates are happening in multiple states. The church incident became a symbol for larger arguments about where lines should be drawn and what tactics are acceptable in political advocacy. For Don Lemon, this represents a test of his independent journalism model. He left CNN and started his own YouTube-based operation. The Minnesota coverage showed his approach. He's more hands-on, more willing to engage directly, more open about his perspectives. That style has an audience, but it also creates risks. The DOJ investigation demonstrates those risks clearly. For Nicki Minaj, the road ahead involves navigating her evolving public image. She built her career on being unapologetic and outspoken. That hasn't changed. But the targets of that outspokenness have shifted in ways that alienate some longtime supporters while attracting new ones. The calculation of whether that trade-off is worth it plays out publicly every time she posts. The hip-hop community is watching closely. This situation represents more than just one celebrity's comments or one journalist's coverage. It's about how political divisions are affecting culture, how social media amplifies conflicts, and how quickly situations can escalate beyond anyone's control. The lessons from this whole situation go beyond the specific individuals involved. It's about understanding how modern media works, how celebrity voices carry weight in political debates, and how the lines between journalism, activism, and entertainment continue to blur. What makes this particularly significant is the involvement of federal investigators. The Department of Justice doesn't launch investigations lightly. The FACE Act has been used in various contexts over the years, but applying it to a situation involving a journalist covering a protest would be unprecedented. Legal scholars are already debating the implications. The timing of all this matters too. We're in an era where every action gets documented, every statement gets analyzed, and every controversy gets amplified. What might have been a local news story 20 years ago becomes a national debate within hours. Don Lemon's coverage reached millions. Nicki's response reached millions more. The cycle accelerates faster than anyone can fully process. For young people watching this unfold, the message is complicated. You've got questions about free speech, religious respect, protest rights, celebrity responsibility, and political alignment, all mixing together. There are no easy answers. Both sides have arguments. Both sides have supporters. The resolution, if there is one, won't satisfy everyone. The church congregation that experienced the disruption has largely stayed out of the spotlight beyond initial statements. Pastor Jonathan Parnell spoke to Don Lemon on camera during the incident, expressing his frustration. Since then, the church has let official channels handle the response. Attorney General Bondi's statements about protecting religious spaces reflect what the congregation experienced. The protest organizers from Racial Justice Network and Black Lives Matter Minnesota haven't backed down from their actions either. They maintain they had the right to confront what they saw as cooperation between religious leadership and enforcement policies they oppose. The debate about tactics versus goals continues. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Nicki's response to Don Lemon? Did she cross a line with the language she used, or was she justified in calling out what she saw as disrespect to religion? Should Don Lemon face consequences for how he covered the church protest, or was he just doing journalism? How does this whole situation affect how you view celebrity political involvement? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know where you stand on this. If this breakdown gave you the full story on the Nicki Minaj and Don Lemon situation and kept it real from start to finish, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell too so you don't miss any updates on this situation as it develops. Trust me, with a federal investigation ongoing and both sides not backing down, there's going to be more to this story. Share this video with anyone who's been following this drama, or anyone who needs to understand what really went down. The more people who know the full story beyond the headlines, the better the conversations we can have about it. And if you want to see more deep dives like this on major hip-hop and culture stories, let me know in the comments what situations you want me to break down next. I'm here to give you the facts without the fluff, and your support keeps this going. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.